PowerPoint, and I'm not certain how I'm going to use it because I need to find a clicker. There we go. Awesome. This is fancy. I think we're just going to click next. Hi, everyone. How are you today? Everyone good? Great. So my name's Tiphany Adams. For some of you that may or may not know me, I have a pretty decent following from the show that I was originally on called Push Girls on the Sundance Channel. We had an amazing run for 2 years, 24 episodes, and it was a beautiful blessing that I was able to show parts of my life with 4 other girls that actually are in wheelchairs also from a spinal cord injury. So, let's get a little bit more into why I get a role on these set of 25s here. And yes, I do change my rims like I change my purses. It's just a fashion thing. It's just an accessory. So, actually, I want to tell you, first of all, how I just had to do that with that little elevator thing. And we do really live in a world that's not fully accessible. But it's about removing limiting beliefs and statements and things of, I can't do this because A, B, or C. No, you can. You have to find a way. If you have a will, there is a way. And I actually thought I was just running super duper late getting out of my lift and trying to get down the elevator to come into this specific room with all of you lovely people. And we couldn't find this little fancy key-majigger doodly thingy. And I'm like, okay, the lady's like, just wait here. Be patient, just wait here. We're going to find the key, don't worry. And I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be on stage in like 1 minute and 32 seconds. I cannot, I'm thinking that, but it's like, as soon as she leaves, I am going down those stairs. I'm just a rebel like that. And of course, as soon as she turned away, I tell my friend Shosh, I'm like, Shosh, come on, we're going. She goes, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? I'm like, just follow my lead at the bottom. You're going to help me. She's like, what? Already I was down backwards. Boom, 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 boom. Because it was like, I think those red stairs, there's probably like 15 of them. That's how I get my adrenaline rush. And I made it. I made it on time. And then I had a nice little lovely 45-minute wait. Okay, so sorry, we'll get back on track. But, so yeah, like I told you, my name's Tiphany. And the topic here, I'm going to discuss is past paralyzation, present inspiration. So let's do a little clicky here. I come from the country. I grew up in the country. It's true, I did. I'm not ashamed of my roots. I grew up in Northern California, and I had lofty dreams, goals, and visions. I wanted to do something very huge and profound in the world. And most of my days I was spent locked outside because in the country, there's plenty to do. You can make mud pies, you can go crawdad fishing, you can go bullfrog fishing, you can shoot birds, you can get your deer and hunting license, which I did. And I was literally locked outside every day, but I always wanted to get out. How can I get out of this small town? What can I do? And let's see if this works. Click. Yeah. I told my dad I wanted to be in TV, film, and possibly modeling. And as you can see from these pictures, my father was not very supportive. He was a single father of 2 girls raising us, and but yeah, he wasn't super supportive. I could see why, but I don't think he wanted to hurt my feelings. And so I started taking. Well, let's go a little bit more into these moments. So I told my dad I really wanted to do something really big in the world, and I didn't know what it was. Being in a small town, and it was like you just work the 9 to 5, you do the practical thing. Then we come here. There you go. That was my first modeling show ever, right there. Miss Fabulous. I know. Yes, I did win that pageant in the front yard. And then I wanted to pursue speaking, hopefully. I just knew I wanted to do something profound in the world and help. And coming from what society calls a broken home, having parents of divorced parents, one my mother was an addict, user, whatever. She had her own issues. Everyone has issues. Everybody's addicted to something. Hers just happened to be drugs and alcohol. My father, strong Italian man, rules, morals, goals, values. This is how it's done. This is what you're going to do. And so I was caught between 2 dichotomies. It was very interesting, to say the least. But it has made me the woman I am today. I had no clue at the age of 17 that I was going to be what they call a victim of a drunk driving accident. I didn't know that I was going to be hit head on from a drunk driver at 130-mile-per-hour impact, causing every single person to be pronounced dead on scene, including myself. And that moment, everything went black in my world. And I remember asking and begging into this black abyss, which to me was God, to please let me live through this. I promise I'm going to do something amazing with this. Let me live through this. And then the next, I need to say this is very important. In my belief, by the grace of God, universe, an off-duty fireman paramedic happened to be driving by at 3 a.m. and seen that I was still moving my pinky in the back of the wreckage. They were fortunate enough to get the emergency services out, cut me out, the jaws of life. They medi-flighted me to the nearest hospital, where I then spent the next 3 weeks fighting for my life in a coma. And when I finally awoke, and mind you, they told my father and my entire family that we had a 5% chance if I were to live and make it. And if I did awake, I wouldn't be able to think, communicate, speak, as they call normally. And when I did awake finally, and my father brought a wheelchair to the side of the bed, I had no idea even what the word paralyzed meant. All I knew was that my legs were numb and tingly, and I couldn't feel them, and they felt like they were asleep. And I said, "Daddy, what's happened to me? Daddy, why can't I feel my legs?" And he just told me, "Honey, God has blessed us with a miracle, and that is your life. If he blesses us with another one, that is going to be you walking. But as of now, let's just be grateful that you're alive." So every single day I wake up thinking those exact thoughts. I am grateful to be alive, because life is truly a gift. And so many people take that for granted. It's such a beautiful blessing to be able to be alive and be able to have the opportunity to enhance the life of another person just by one thing, by simply being a human being of love. And there's some things that this has been nothing more than a gift into my life. People are like, "I'm so sorry. Wow, that's so awful. I couldn't do what you do." You don't know what you would do until you're put into a certain situation or circumstance. It's not my place to judge anybody else based on their actions, because I don't know what that person's gone through. I don't know what traumas they've experienced. Just because you see my experiences on the outside with this wheelchair does not mean or lessen anybody else's traumatic events that have occurred in their lives. So the number one thing for me is I have experienced so many events through this, diversity and inclusion first and foremost. I know what it's like to be treated differently just because I'm differently abled now. And I am now a voice for those that I feel have been speaking for years and have not been fully heard. I know what it's like to go into a job interview and get turned away based on what they see on the exterior due to this wheelchair. I know what it's like going into and waiting for a taxi and getting declined because of this wheelchair. I've experienced so many things, and all it has done is made me more compassionate to humanity as a whole. It hasn't made me angry, because that serves nothing. Hate is fear, and it's always going to go back to the same thing, which is love, returning to love. So the next thing here is, that is the wreck right here, and those are my angels that have been supporting my journey. Jesse Yaw was the driver of the accident, or the wreck, also known as the divine intervention. And Crystal Pepin, may their souls rest in peace. And my sister, that was my first day home from the hospital. Mind you, they said I was going to be in there later, 9 months, and I was like, no, I have a mission to fulfill in my life and a purpose greater than I could have ever even imagined or asked for. And I was released from the hospital. I got in October 15th. I was released December 21st after 3 weeks spending in a coma. And then I went back to my high school and I graduated with my class. I got my driver's license in the summer and I started college in the fall. And what I want to talk to you guys is about, I chose to beat the odds. 1 in 5 have some sort of disability. Americans, right? 3.6 million people 15 years or older are using a wheelchair. But there's also a really huge thing that hit me as I was doing some research. Why is it that the average earning for people with a disability is $20,000, basically? $20,184 is the average median income for those living with a disability. And the average median for those without is 66. We're making 66% less than the average. Like, I don't know, that really speaks out to me loud. Not because of the 3.6 million people that are 15 years old are using a wheelchair. That 74.6 million people have a physical disability, a physical challenge. So when you really look at those numbers, and I got that from dosomething.org, that's where I got that statistic. If you really think about that, it just kind of made me think, wow. And living with a physical condition, a cognitive condition, things are more expensive. These wheelchairs, they're not cheap. They're not. And we're making a difference slowly and surely. Like I told you, the show Push Girls, thank God, was able to get that show on the air for 2 years. But this is another thing, perspective. 5% of those in film and television actually have the disabilities and are portraying the roles that they have. That means 95% of those that are in film and television do not really have that condition. They're cast to play the role. They're thrown in the wheelchair. They're made to be the amputee or portray that they're blind. There's people that are out there on these auditions that can play these roles. I know, I live it. But I'm very blessed and grateful that as a society as a whole, we are making a difference. We are making changes. Thank God for shows like Switched at Birth with Ryan Line. Thank God for Breaking Bad, a friend of mine, RJ Mitty. Thank God for Marley Matlin. Thank God for the Media Access Awards, because that is where I got this information, was from the Media Access Awards. So thankfully, we're making progress. So learn from the past so we don't continue to be paralyzed by it. How can you help change the course of history? I could sit up here and ask you to donate money. Donate money. No. Donate your compassion to somebody that is indifferent from you on the exterior. Erase the superficial. See the person, not the disability, not the indifference. I don't care what political party you are, what sexual orientation you are, what your religion is, none of that matters. When you all break it down, we're all human beings, and it's always going to be a return to love. And there you go, one of my favorite inspirations here, Helen Keller. A character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved. I thank you. Please follow me on my social media handles, Tiphany Adams. There you go.